Alright, so you guys should have kind of started playing around with your tile sets. Now let's kind of look into creating our characters based off of our game design document. So we already know that they're going to be 16 by 16, but we know that we're going to have some animation. Now, how many frames makes a good animation? It kind of depends. If you just have something just doing like a small change, I say 2 frames would work. For a lot of my characters, 4 frames to do their simple animations. For the dragon animation, the orb, something that I wanted to like really look smooth, I added a lot more frames. That does not mean that you have to be drawing everything from scratch. Playing around with this, there's a lot of shortcuts that you notice that you can do. So let's say I start with a image right here. So we know that our character is going to be 16 by 16. Oops. I did what I said you need to make sure. So 16 by 16, advanced options, transparency. Okay, there we go. Let's close that one because we don't care. Now, when we are drawing that up, 1600, you could use a template off of somebody. Getting an idea of the color scheme. I would not try to just completely copy because then you're going to end up having copyright infringement. But what you could do is you can get an idea like, hey, the Zelda characters, he really only created Zelda with like 4 colors, so try to stay like that. Try to get a color scheme for your characters, so stuff he collects is within that color scheme, things like that. And we can play around with that after you get it set up. So I usually start with the pencil tool. I'm going to go with 1 pixel. Is that not bigger? There we go. Okay. So this is our one character. This would be our first frame. Now, we can break everything up into layers, and if we did, that would make things so much easier for us. I did that on my dragon animations, and it saved me a lot of time. So we want to decide, for layer, let's say that this would be his left arm. Okay, and then we want to have another one. So we can go down here and we can do right arm. Right arm. We do another one. Let's say this is right leg. Helps if I spell it right. Right leg. Left leg. We need his head. Head, and maybe I'm going to rename that one to his body. Okay, so now it's going to be in order of what I'm doing, but if I start drawing his body, let's just go with some simple color. Let's say we start with blue for one of our colors, and I know that he's going to have something to go with his chest. I'm going to do a really simple drawing just so that you guys can kind of get an idea. Okay, so that's his chest and his right arm. Let's do that in a different color. I'm going to pick green. And we want to start off with it being kind of bent. His left arm, let's do a different color for that so we can see. Let's make that red. left arm, we want that to be going back, down. Okay, now if I hid, this is my left arm. Okay, but it's standing behind the body and the right arm, or it should. So I need to move this below the body. And the right arm, I want that to show above the body. My right leg, I'm going to want to have that above the body. My left leg, I'm going to want to have it below the body. Now these I could move however I want while I'm dealing with it. So this could be my template for my person. So let's do right leg, make a different color. Let's make it a little bit orange. This is right leg, and he is running, so this one would probably be out like that. It's great, great drawing, but doing it digital, we can undo stuff and do it however many times we want. Okay, so right leg, left leg, let's do a different color just so you guys can see. Pink. Left leg. It's going to go kind of like this. Wow, he's really goofy looking. Okay, so if I'm not looking at the right leg or the right, to say that looks pretty bad. Wow, art edge. Okay, so we have his leg, and it's being kind of bent, and that's going to be behind his body. His arm is going to be in front of his body. His right leg is going to be in front of his body, but we could say it's behind his arm. Okay, and now we just got to do his head. So let's do another color. Let's make that, let's do like a really light green, I guess. So we draw his head out. Now I'm not going to just draw my characters with these one-dimensional looks, but I want you guys to see where the different colors are coming from. So let's say I'm giving him a set of eyes. So let's just give him. There we go. Amazing. Alright, now if I wanted to reposition this right, because I'm selected on this, I can move things. His right arm, I can have that selected. I can do the free select. Let me get it there. Okay, and then I can move it. See? Because I'm locked only on that layer, I can get a good look. His left arm. I'm going to go to select, none. I'm going to do the same thing. I want that up higher, so I'm going to go ahead and select it. Go to my move tool. I'm going to bump that up. Well, that looks a little bit better. And I'm just going to keep playing around with this. Now, when I get kind of like my first frame, so let's say that he's walking to the right, I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go Export As, and then in my Assets folder for Android Studio, that is where I'm going to save my stuff. So I need to find that folder. Android Studio Projects. Where did I put it? It's in my home. desktop. Degree Walters. Wherever you put it, that's where you're going to need to put that in your asset folder for your Android Studio project. Okay, and you're going to want to give it a title. Now, if you're doing an animation, because we are going to do a texture packer, I'm going to want to say in this order the name of my character. So let's call it test player right, okay, _1. Okay, the _1 using the texture packer, if I have 2 animations, if I have 23 animations, as long as I have an underscore and an index number for every one of those, it will automatically pack them correctly, and then it makes it really easy to load each image, because all I have to do is just load, hey, I need test player animation right, so I'm loading test player right, that animation, and all of those frames will be correctly in order. That's what I want to do. So I locate where I'm saving it. So wherever my asset folder is. So let's say that that's there, but it's going to be in your Android Studio project. You need to make sure that you're putting it there. If you don't, you're going to end up having to move it. So if I put it there in that asset folder, okay, I'm doing the PNG. I'm going to click export. I'm going to get a pop-up that's going to ask if you want to like the quality. Go ahead and leave it as your highest quality, so 9. We don't really want any compression. We do want to save the background color, so that includes transparency. We want to save the color with transparent values. Okay, those are the things that we do have to have. Now, when I export that, so let's go back into that. So that I put that in the desktop. Okay. So here's our asset. Go ahead and open that up. Let's look at that. Some of yours you may end up having to flatten the image first before you export it out, and then you can just undo. But basically that picture is what I'm using as like my test bed for that image. Alright, so we can see it. It's showing that image. It's recognizing it. That is all we're doing right there. We're doing small increments. So if I want in Gimp, I say, you know what, I like this, but now I'm ready to do the next frame. So his right arm and his left arm need to basically kind of switch. So his right arm needs to rotate. So that would be here. I can rotate it. And then I can pick the angle. So I want it to go, let's do -90 degrees, see where we're at. Oh, that rotated the wrong way. Oh, we gotta actually, okay, my right arm, we want to intelligently pick that color. Okay, now we want to rotate clockwise, not the whole image, thank you. I'm going to hit Control X, Control V, so that that's a pasted layer. Then I'm going to transform that layer. doing this to me? I think it's because it's trying to select everything, which I don't want to. None. I want this layer. I want it centered at 8 and 8. I want it 90 degrees. May have to clean it up some, but this will help you gauge transform. Let's do that. This will help you keep your stuff looking good, and you're spending less work on having to do all the individual animations. I can also adjust how none. We can. Now the version that you guys have of Gimp is a little bit newer than mine, so stuff's a little bit different. I want normal. I don't want no interpolation. I want. Let's see. Okay, so we get his right arm. We're going to move. Get me up there. I want to select. Okay, now let's try the rotate again. Rotating the whole layer. I just didn't do that whole line, but it's really still not too bad. Then we can move it. We could fix up that, so let's just go ahead and erase that. It's still very little work that we had to do. Select. Oh, I got the anchor. I can erase. Okay, and then I could fill in that line with that color. There we go. Alright, and then look at it with my other stuff. Now I've turned them. You can transform that. Move it a little bit over. Oh, we got got to select again. So I'm moving that arm, rotating it around. We're going to do that with all the other pieces. And once you get done, then you save that. That would be your export to testplayer_write_2.png. And you'd keep doing that until you hit the animation that you wanted. Now, if you're doing just four frames, generally for most of those, you want your first and your third frame to be matching, and then your second and your fourth frame are what's going to be different. So if they're moving to the right, your first and third frame could be where he's actually standing still but facing to the right, because that's at that point that's where his legs are switching and his arms are switching. So you want to play around with that to get your animations. It doesn't make this easy. It's not drawing it for you. You still got to put in all the work. But that is one way that you could save time. So if my animation is having the dragon coming out, I'm just extending his arms out a little bit each frame, and then exporting that image once I'm done with that as a PNG and giving it the proper index number. Okay.